Chris and Dan show. What is up? Chris Sauber with the Yankee hat and the corny salute, and the Second Amendment shirt,
Yeah.
which protects the First Amendment.
Bonus.
Which,
Wait.
which,
Bonus points. So today is June 23rd, 2022. Bonus points if you can guess why the New York hat and the shirt. Okay, go on.
okay, nice. I like that. Open ended. So, Second Amendment protects the First. We'll do a video on that too, because I think I'm a moderate on most of these issues. But anyways, Second Amendment, freedom of speech, very closely related to Twitter and Elon Musk, who the board of Twitter, of course, they should have approved because he's paying way overpaying for Twitter now. Um, After the recent market drop, the new owner of Twitter, soon to be potentially Elon Musk, held that 1 hour long employee only teleconference with Twitter employees where they were asking him questions through one person. Uh, and he handled the call. I watched like half of it. He handled it really well. We're not going to obviously react to the whole thing. It's 48 minutes, but we have like minute long highlights, and then we're going to just kind of give our thoughts on this issue.
So before you start the video,
Yeah.
so I have a question. So I saw this, and I don't think it was a legal expert, an attorney or anything of that nature, but I saw something a couple of days ago. I think it was over the weekend on YouTube, which is a very trustworthy source, as we all know, for information. YouTube, and they were saying
I
that
mean, we're on YouTube. Yeah.
sure, in the
You can trust
1960s,
us, guys.
that's right, the 1964 Civil Rights Law ruling of the Supreme Court. So it protects gender, religion, and such from discrimination, right?
Yeah.
Race, gender, religion, I believe, right? Did
Right.
you know it doesn't protect, and it specifically states as such, does not protect communists? So an employer can discriminate against communists. Now, that's what this person said, and they said they read the entire act. I haven't. So I'm going to just take their word, right? So to me, that seems to imply that if Elon wanted to, assume I haven't watched this video, but assuming that he's going to have difficulties with his employers, or excuse me, his employees, he could ask, right? Are you left leaning? Are you a communist? Are you, whatever he wants to ask in that regard, and that's not infringing on their civil rights. And if they respond with the affirmative, he can fire them.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, he can fire them anyways.
Sure.
That's an interesting point, though.
But if you say to somebody, hey, I don't want to
If
hire you,
that's true, we need to fact check this.
sure. But we all know that it's against the law, and you could sue a potential employer if they say, hey, I don't much care for Japanese people. I'm not hiring you because you're Japanese. Right? We all know you can sue for that.
Yes.
However, it sounds like you could say, hey, what are your political views? And ask that question and not hire accordingly.
Sure.
What it sounds like to me, which is interesting.
I mean, hopefully most of them are going to answer moderate, but
Sure.
I don't think he's going to ask those kind of things.
Well, the current culture at Twitter, at least it seems to me, right?
Yep.
That they want to limit free speech.
Mm-hmm. Well,
that seems to be the culture, and that's why Elon's
they
buying
claim
this.
they want free speech, but they claim that they don't want harmful speech, and they're the arbiters of what's harmful.
Right, and we already have a First Amendment in regards to that. So free speech isn't speech I agree with. It's not speech that hurts my feelings isn't allowed. It doesn't work that way. Free speech is, what that means is you're allowed to say something that I don't agree with and do not like.
And we're allowed to debate it. We should be able to debate it.
Right. There's no point in having a free speech amendment, First Amendment, if it's only what we're allowed to say is what everybody agrees with and likes.
So let me tell you, someone who uses Twitter every day,
mm-hmm.
There is plenty of free speech on Twitter.
Sure.
I'm not seeing the censorships on Twitter. Maybe during COVID, there was a lot of it, but as far as political banter back and forth, there's plenty from both sides.
Okay. Well, I don't use Twitter, but I have seen some of the things that have not been allowed. Mm-hmm. And it's the biggest one that comes to mind is the I can't remember his name, Joe Biden's son's laptop.
Mm-hmm.
How that wasn't allowed on Twitter.
Yeah, it's
And
funny how they like.
in
And
fact, that's been proven to be true, right?
yes,
So why was that not allowed? Twitter shouldn't be banning that type of speech. It just shouldn't,
right. I think everyone
because
agrees with that.
they're not the arbiters of what's true and not.
Well, they can be. So that's
Well,
the whole thing of
that's
why
why
Elon
Elon
wants to
Musk
buy
is
them.
exactly.
Yeah. So let's get into it. It's only a minute and a half, and it's supposedly highlights from the 45-minute call.
Some people use their hair to express themselves. I use Twitter.
So let's pause right here. Elon Musk staged a town hall meeting with Twitter employees as he appeared to double down on his $44 billion commitment to take over the company.
It's quite the commitment.
Musk showed up 10 minutes late to the meeting and dialed in from his phone. Sounds like me on our any meetings. That's about right. During the video question and answer session, he addressed everything from layoffs, remote work, politics, and aliens. I didn't see the aliens part. I eventually have to watch the whole thing.
So I heard a little bit about all of that. He basically said you're allowed to remote work so long as you put 40 hours in at the office, which is quite hilarious.
That is funny. You're going to use that line on future employees, I can tell.
Absolutely. I thought that was hilarious. I just cracked up laughing when I saw that.
He also said something along the lines of, if you don't produce, you're gone. Simple as that.
Right, which is part of the remote work, right? Because they're all saying, because they're all used to working only one day a week at the office, right? Because
yeah, they've gotten a culture of entitlement there, and they've gotten fat off of the public's money.
Even
public investors.
Absolutely. Even one Twitter employee said at most he works 4 hours a week, and he gets paid full time, right? And
I mean, I'm sure a lot of them work hard too, and they don't appreciate being lumped into this group. So,
well, I think
we can't like just go off of like the extremes. I think the majority are normal people want to have.
I don't know if I agree with that, because I've heard quite the contrary, that it's like a lot of large companies in which you have 10 or maybe 20% of the employees carrying the other 80%.
Wow, that's bad. That's bad.
And
so
that's what's
maybe
going on at Twitter.
we'll interview someone at Twitter too. So let's see what he says. Or if we're just reading stuff, though, we can react to the song. It's pretty good.
Somebody is
better than most shit Chris does. All right, here we go.
Hey,
exceptional at their job, then it's possible for them to be effective even working remotely. There would have to be some rationalization of headcount and expenses to have revenue be greater than cost. Otherwise, Twitter is simply not viable. What is the center of the normal distribution of political views in the country? I think I'd be pretty close to the center. I've seen no actual evidence of aliens.
Okay.
I get asked that a lot, and I think I know, and I've not seen anything yet.
All right, so there's this alien. He also offered a high-minded vision for what Twitter should be in 5 to 10 years.
So he's planning on, I'm sure, well, you're most likely aware of this, but for those who aren't, he's planning on charging a subscription for Twitter.
It's going to be a subscription model. Like if you want, it's freemium, but if you want to pay for it, which they currently have, and no one seems to understand the value of it from what people are posting on Twitter. Like there's people who are paying, I think it's $5 a month for Twitter, and they're always talking about they don't understand what they're getting out of it, but they're still paying for it.
So, I mean, just along that model, to me, it would make sense to even charge something really nominal for a couple of reasons, right? Because their concern is bots. So if every user has to pay even, say, 50 cents, right, a month to use it, that verifies this person's real, right? At least to an extent, because I guess you could create bots and pay 50 cents for all of them. But if you track it back to, the payee information needs to match this Twitter user, that eliminates bots, right?
Right.
So it would make sense in that regard, because he wants to get rid of bots.
Yeah, that's like one of his biggest gripes.
Yeah.
I guess broadly speaking, like, is Twitter helping further civilization and consciousness Is Twitter contributing to a stronger, longer-lasting civilization where we're better able to understand the nature of reality?
Well, there you go. That's how the video ends.
See, honestly, I don't know if I agree with his acquisition of Twitter. To my understanding, and again, I don't use these things, but from what I'm hearing, Truth Social is as popular as Twitter almost now, right? And that people who really want open and free dialogue are going there.
Wait,
So,
what? No.
yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
It's
So
what you're hearing. I can tell you as a heavy user of all of these tools,
you
it's not
use
even close.
Do you use Truth Social?
No. And that's if I were, not to sound cocky, but if it were important, I would definitely be on it.
Well, and it's not what I'm hearing. It's not what I'm
Because
hearing.
I've tried to. So let's look it up. True Social
Truth.
monthly.
I think it's Truth Social.
Truth Social monthly users. Because I've heard these things before, and I've actually downloaded these.
So what would make more sense to me than Musk acquiring Twitter would be to start something new. I think that would make more sense for him personally.
Truth Social has 513,000 active daily users in comparison to Twitter's active daily user base of 217 million. Now,
Oh, jeez.
yes, so those things that I mean, sure, maybe it's growing faster than Twitter. Of course, it would be. Like any startup should be growing faster than an established company, but yeah, there's no comparison. Trust me, if there was, I'd be on it. I'm on TikTok. I'm on all the ones that make sense. Dr. Peter McCullough actually told me to download one of these. I think it was Getter or one of those other conservative ones. And you told me to download another one and upload the videos, and I did both of them. And it's like almost not worth it doing it. It's the only reason it's worth it is because there's for sure it's not going to get banned, and the people watching it are for the most part like 90% like in favor of what you're posting, but it's just the echo chamber.
Well,
That's the problem.
so that's not entirely true. So like Gavin Newsom, there was some report that he just joined Truth Social so he could freely discuss what he wants to
Debate.
discuss.
Yeah.
So
It's becoming that way, but compared to like Twitter or YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, which are truly I think representative of the actual population, because almost everybody has one now. True Social, it's very heavy and those kind of things. Getter, very heavily leaning conservative. But if they get popular, I'm on it. I'm
Sure.
on this. I'm on it.
Well, I don't know about political leanings necessarily. Like I said, I'm not on any of these things. The only thing I'm on is YouTube.
Yeah, thank you.
That's it. So,
Yep.
but I do hear about how YouTube also, even from you, bans videos. And, if you're
They
going to
do.
be,
They do.
if you're going to be free speech, you should have free speech, in my opinion.
And even with that, I'll still take my chances because I was able to argue with YouTube and get the video back up.
Sure.
But it's even with that tremendous burden, it still makes sense to continue to do it on YouTube.
No, that's certainly because of your audience. But wouldn't it just make more sense to have an open town hall where,
Of course.
outside of breaking the law, because obviously that should be. We
Yeah,
already have laws in place, right? So you can't put up child porn, which few people
they
want to
do.
see.
Yeah.
Few people want to see, and that should be absolutely restricted. And things of that nature, right? Things that are obviously
Like
against the
murders and
law. Yeah,
kidnappings and videos like that. Yeah.
absolutely. Things against the law, and there's already laws against it. Certainly, it
But
shouldn't be
speech,
allowed.
no. But
Yeah.
the line is blurry because if somebody says something's hateful, Twitter now has a responsibility to say, well,
Well, I'm
do we think
sorry.
it's hateful or not?
You know, again, it's subjective to a degree, but I think I'm a pretty good gauge on what's hateful, right? If you say, yo, I hate black people and they should all be lynched, right? Obviously hateful, but I think it should still be allowed personally, because how else do we know what somebody thinks unless they're allowed to freely say what they think?
Sure. But if you run Twitter and you are in the limelight. You're a publicly traded company, and your advertisers are saying you can't allow things like that.
Yes, of course.
You have a business
Of
to run.
course, I don't disagree with that, but at the same time, where the disagreement, in my opinion, comes in is if you're going to be the public square, which essentially these companies are now, right? Because you
Yep.
don't have people going out and debating in the streets like they used to. You go to town hall and
Right.
they just don't do that anymore. It's all done on Twitter and YouTube and all of these platforms. They have to accommodate everybody. It's just the way the Constitution is written.
Yes,
That's my
they
opinion.
do. The only difference, the only weakness in that argument, which I've heard a lot, is okay, they may act as the town halls, but they're not officially town halls like
Sure, they're a private
physical ones
company.
were.
I get it.
And
I get it.
they got investors. They got a fiduciary
I get it.
responsibility.
But guess what? If you make the ruling that these are town halls, I'm just saying, like the Supreme
Yeah.
Court made the ruling, these are
Oh,
town
sure.
halls.
Sure.
Guess what? The advertisers and investors are just gonna be like, well, this is the way it is. I can't escape it. So it doesn't matter where I advertise. They're all responsible to.
Yeah. And
to
there's
ha-
still plenty of racist comments. I mean, you don't have to go further than YouTube to see racist comments on most videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, from both sides, like from all hateful. There's plenty of hateful comments. So
Well, the comment section certainly I've seen that, but I don't know if I've seen that on an actual like video. I think don't those.
on the
go
actual
down?
video, no, but the comment section is part
Yeah.
of the content.
Sure. In the comment section, certainly.
So there's plenty of free speech out there. I don't necessarily think that's a problem. I think the problem conservatives have is that they get unfairly censored, which I think they have a good point. I don't think anyone can argue with that. But the liberals or the leftists would say, well, they shouldn't be having those thoughts, and I don't think that's okay.
Well,
Especially when the thoughts are not racist or
right.
xenophobic or anything like that. For the most part, like most of the bannings were done due to coronavirus, like early treatment protocols, like azithromycin, hydroxychloroquine, that kind of talk, which now is not being banned, interestingly enough, anymore. Let us know what you guys think about that in the comments. All right. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Chris is going to get his Wi Fi back in order, and we'll be back. Bye bye.